I call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order this evening. We usually have an invocation, a pledge. We're going to do that tonight, but to introduce our guests, I want to call on Jeff Rhodes with the Cub Scouts / Boy Scouts to tell us who's here and get them in order and go through our invocation and our pledge.
Thanks for having us tonight. We've got the Cub Scouts, mostly Wolf Cubs from Pack 15, which meets the Trinity Methodist, and we're happy to be here tonight and lead you guys in the opening of the meeting.
Thanks. If you'll please stand.
Guys, we're gonna have the invocation tonight. Will be the Cub Scout promise that we'll lead you in. Ready?
I promise to do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to help other people, and to obey the law of the act.
We'll face the flag. Cub Scouts attention. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can go ahead and clap for him if you want to. Good job, guys. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Ms. Keeling, please call the roll.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5. Here. Lori Pruitt, Ward 6.
Thank you, Connie. First order is the approval of the council meeting minutes from our last meeting on February the 3rd. Council's had these well in advance of this evening. Chair will entertain any corrections, edits, or motions.
Mayor, didn't see any additions or corrections. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. We have a proclamation that we are going to start off. No, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. We have the second reading of an ordinance to our parade permit. Greg?
Yes, Mayor, this is the second reading of the parade permit ordinance. I've received no comments or instruction. What this amendment changes the parade permit application where you can turn it in 1 year in advance. The deadlines and everything else remain the same in the ordinance.
Okay. Any additional questions or comment?
Greg, I didn't pick up on this 2 weeks ago, but I understand that we're extending the time. But is our minimal time enough? Wasn't it 10 days prior? Is that enough time for public works, public safety?
Well, under that was changed also the first time we tried this, but Keith Lovell looked at it, and the city's under some kind of court order for this parade permit, so we can't constrict the requirements on it. All we could do was expand it.
That's pretty tight, isn't it?
It is.
That came as a result of a lawsuit that was filed 20 years ago. Had to do with some people striking or something, and they wanted a permit to do something. I don't know, we got sued and we agreed to do that.
We don't have many of those that only come in within 10 or 11 days, do we?
Well, I can't answer that. Normally this doesn't go through my department. This is the reason I'm here is because for a road race is why we want to extend it. But you'd have to ask the chief or public works that question, I guess.
We do have some, but not a lot.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion for approval. Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Greg. Now we've got a proclamation.
I
Mayor, Council, as you're aware, Arbor Day is a nationally celebrated observance that encourages tree planting. As the city in the past has participated and partnered with some of the organizations, Keep Arto Beautiful's here, I believe the Women's Club and Master Gardeners Club is also here. We are also desirous of becoming a Tree City USA designated city, and as part of that, we need to officially have a proclamation observing Arbor Day. With that, the city has participated today in a tree planting at a community park in Agco near the Little League fields. Tomorrow, I believe the Women's Club, the Master Gardeners Club will be taking part in the giving away of trees at 5 different locations throughout the county. Every year we do it down in the lobby of this particular building. With that, if Ms. Tate will read the proclamation, we'd like to take a few pictures also and move forward with officially designating Arbor Day in the city of Cartersville.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, if we can, please, Ms. Tate and Mayor and everybody who's here related to Keep Arto Beautiful, Master Gardeners, and other groups, come down front so I can take pictures.
Before or after she reads the proclamation?
Okay.
That's a hard question. Okay, whenever. Mrs. Tate.
City of Cartersville proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, whenever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, I therefore, Mayor Matthew J. Santini, Mayor of the City of Cartersville, do hereby proclaim February the 18th, 2011 as Arbor Day in the City of Cartersville. I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and I further urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Mayor
Our picture's taken.
would you like me to join you in the
Please
picture
do.
that I have?
It'd be embarrassing to get you to sit back down.
I'm getting me a seed tomorrow. Getting whatever. I got a perfect place. I got me a perfect place.
You hand it to her and shake her hand, we'll do the recommendation about that.
And, the ones that are to my right, move to your right so that you're away from the podium.
Scrunch in.
Yep, to the right. Yeah.
Can everyone see the top?
I'm going to take 2 pictures, please. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take another one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Can I get one? Yes.
He did it on 2. He took it on 2 instead of 3.
That way you get people.
Appreciate all of you.
Hello there. Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Appreciate you. You know we're really good. How you take?
Such a loving community.
Thank you all for that, and Diane, thank you for handling that for me. We've got first reading of a zoning annexation request. Randy.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This is zoning case Z11-01. This is a request to rezone 1.3 acres from the PS, professional service zoning category, to the OC office commercial category. This property is located off of Medical Drive. It's a small medical office type subdivision located off of 20 in the area of the hospital. The request was reviewed by the City of Cartersville departments, and the standards for exercise of zoning powers were evaluated. With that, a couple of these properties were actually annexed into the city. The development and roadway were done within or under the county jurisdiction. And at the time, back in 2002, when it was annexed, there was actually a condition of annexation placed on the property, noting that we were not to accept the road unless certain criteria of improvements were done to that particular road. That hadn't occurred. It's still a privately maintained road, or has not been maintained by the city or county at this point. So staff did recommend that condition follow this, since it was placed on it back in 2002. And those comments were actually reiterated by the Public Works Department at this time. That was who originally made the comments back in 2002. With that, the Planning Commission held a public hearing. They did recommend approval of this application with what was recommended by staff. However, they did add a few additional conditions on this particular zoning. Basically is an office complex for medical type facilities, and what they did is recommend approval with the medical office type uses that are listed on the OC zoning list of allowable uses. So with that, they did recommend approval with the condition of on the roadway remaining in there, and for the allowance only of the following uses: clinics, hospices, laboratories, medical offices, nursing home facilities, personal care homes, and research laboratories. What they did went through the actual OC criteria in the ordinance. There was a gentleman present who did oppose the application to begin with, because his concern was that it was not going to remain medical type facilities out there, and with that, they did recommend approval.
Okay. Any other questions for Randy? Okay. Thank you, sir. I'll open up a public hearing for the zoning portion of this application. Anybody wishing to speak for or against may do so at this time. And if you would, sir, please state your name and address for our clerk.
Corley Thomas, C-O-R-L-E-Y, address 699 Collier Road, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. I'm just here to answer any questions about it. We own the building. Back when it was constructed in 2004, we had it zoned PS. It's my understanding that back then, hospice care services could be provided under a PS zoning. The building layout is designed for hospice care, nurses stationed in the middle with about 12 patient rooms surrounding it, and administrative space upstairs. So the neighbor to the property did express concern that a general office commercial designation would open it up to become anything, a bank or a restaurant, et cetera, and he wanted to keep it medical related. So I think that's where the provisions come in to limit it to the medical services provided under OC. That's kind of where we're standing. I can answer any questions if anybody has some.
Thank you. We'll continue the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for or against may step forward and do so at this time. And I will close the public hearing for the zoning portion of this. I'll open up a public hearing for the annexation. You are correct. I am not going to open up a public hearing for the annexation portion of this request, since it's not required. This is the first reading. No vote is therefore required this evening, and we'll take this up at our first meeting in March.
I have a question. Where is that? Is that located over by the Bone and Joint building?
Yes, sir.
Right there on the left?
Yes, sir.
Where the grass is growing? Okay.
as the picture would indicate. All right, we've got a first reading of an ordinance. This is the amendment to the permit fees ordinance.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this was drawn by the Assistant City Attorney relative to a request to discuss with you relative to the Habitat Project and waiver of fees for that project. What this does is sets up a process that allows you to waive building permit fees by resolution. And would pass this and then waive those fees with a separate resolution. And it's up for first reading.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? Any clarification needed? If not, this is first reading. We'll take this up at our first meeting in March. The next is an amendment to the retirement plan ordinance, also a first reading.
Yes, Mayor, this is the first reading. As I discussed in the work session, the City Pension Board reviewed 14 pension plan, or actually for investment advisor and benefit plans services. We selected one firm, Clark Weeks Retirement Service Solutions, as well as Benefit Trust to provide these services. The ordinance needs to be amended. We'll take 2 readings to do this. Later on in the agenda, there's an agreement with Weeks Retirement Solutions regarding the investment advisory, but this is just an ordinance, and there's, again, first reading of that.
Okay. Any questions for Dan on this item? Thank you, sir. Once again, no vote required. We'll take this up at our first meeting in March. We have some appointments to the Downtown Development Authority. Dan?
Yeah, this is to reappoint Harry Fincham, Susan Howard, and Nancy Jackson through a term running through February 18th of 2015. Your approval is recommended.
Any discussion? If none, then the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve these reappointments.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have an agreement with the Department of Transportation for the enhancement grant. Greg, tell us the rest about that, please.
Yes, Mayor, this is getting close to be able to finally see some additional action rather than design and stuff. But this agreement just states to DOT that we acquired our easement per DOT specifications and would authorize us to receive and expend federal funds, and I recommend approval of this.
Okay. Any discussion on that item? And if not, chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Come on back up, Dan.
Yes, Mayor, this is an investment advisory services agreement with Weeks Retirement Solutions. As I mentioned, the pension board reviewed out 14 different proposals and narrowed it down, interviewed 6 or 5 firms, and then narrowed it down to this one firm to provide investment management services. Mr. Weeks is currently actuary for the city. He's been doing that for a number of years. He also provides investment management services for Peachtree City and a couple other cities in Georgia. He is familiar with Georgia law. And I recommend, the pension board recommends approval of Weeks Retirement Solutions to provide these services to the city. And Mr. Weeks is in the audience if you care to speak with him or ask any questions.
Okay.
I have a question, Dan. Mr. Porter, we have really discussed this and talked about it a lot, but something just occurred to me for clarification. There is a 30-day out for either party. How would a council, any council know, not just this one, how would we know from you or the pension board as a whole if things were not going in the right direction? And would you take it upon yourself to come to the city manager, mayor, and is that the process for? Yes, I mean, we'll keep you abreast of, obviously, the auditor audits the city books and he provides you information every year on the pension plan. It's a kind of puts that information there. He doesn't audit the actuarial stuff. That's the actuary provides the information. But if the pension plan, the investments are not going well, the pension board, myself, will bring that to the city council's attention, and we'll say we need to look elsewhere if our investments aren't doing what we want to. Because long term, the city's putting in about 13.5% into biweekly payroll, based on the employees' payroll, and the employees are putting in money into the pension plan. We want to get it to 100% fully funded if possible and add additional benefits to our retirees, but we're
trying to make headway on that, and hopefully by bringing a different investment manager, we can do that by increasing our returns.
Now, help me, Dan. We have gone from what percentage in line?
Approximately 69% in about 8 years to currently about 82% funded, and we're 100% as we're fully funded. We have about $30 million in liabilities, where you look out 30 plus years on how long people are going to live. Our liability is about 30 million. We only have about 24 million in assets currently in there. And like I said, we've made progress on it. We need to make additional progress on that. So the city, and really the taxpayers, aren't on the hook for having to pay additional costs. I mean, there was an article in the paper, and actually the Sam sends you ICMA news briefs daily. A couple days ago, there was an article in there on how retirement benefits are costing a lot of cities a lot of funds, and we've actually managed ours fairly well, and it hasn't put a burden on the taxpayers or on our budget to a certain extent.
With what little reading I have done, and it's mostly been about Atlanta's pension fund, but 84% funding at this time is not that bad. I mean, obviously we want to get much closer, but
Yes, we're making
compared to other
improvements.
cities our size.
Yes. I mean, everybody's different, depends on what they've done. We've held the line on what we're paying 2% on the payouts. I mean, some places went up to 3% on basically based on your salary, and it's costing them, they didn't look at long range, it's going to cost them a lot of money long term. So we've held the line on what we can afford to pay out. We've let our employees know. When we hired Mr. Weeks a few years ago, we started giving employees annual benefit statements showing them what their retirement would look like on the pension plan. So we started providing information that we hadn't done in the past, which is helpful, and also trying to let them know what to expect. So when they do retire, they kind of have a general idea of what their income should be.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Weeks Retirement Solutions regarding investment advisor.
I'll second that.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Wage salary study, Sam.
Sure. This contract comes about as a result of discussions in the visioning sessions relative to compensation. And what this is for is a wage and salary study to be performed by Condrey and Associates. We do have a history with Steve. He worked with the Carl Vinson Institute and had performed these in '97 and 2000, so it's been about 10 years since we've done that. And what this will do is take a look at the other North Metro municipalities, similar cities that provide electric, water, gas, look at salary competitiveness as the economy recovers, and do an internal wage and salary equity study as well. We feel there's a need to objectively look at this data and kind of prepare ourselves as the economy begins to recover. We've been not gearing toward that, but 3 years without a salary adjustment, we just really need to take a look at it. And it's $24,500 would be complete May 17. If there are any budget implications, we could roll them into that, and I recommend that you approve.
Okay. Any discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
Approval of the agreement with Condrey and Associates.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Where'd Dan go? Should have sat towards the front.
Retiree health insurance. Our current insurance policy expires end of March, and April 1st renews, and we looked at a couple different products. Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare Advantage is the one that our retirees, or the ones over age 65 and under, they are getting out of the marketplace. We looked at a couple different products. We brought our retirees, about 8 of them in, to look at the different proposals we had. They overwhelmingly selected United Healthcare Medicare Supplement. It's actually a slightly decrease in the cost and the overall cost to the city and to the retiree, but recommend approval of that change to United Healthcare Senior Supplement.
Any questions, comments, concerns, or motions?
Mayor, I make a motion to change our retiree insurance renewal from Medicare Advantage to United Healthcare Senior Supplement.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Continue on.
This is on the south hangar taxiway pavement at the airport. The airport authority sent out bids and actually received some grant money from the federal government, FAA, and the GDOT, Georgia Department of Transportation. Pick up 95% of this cost. They sent out bids and hired a local contractor to provide the paving of this hangar. The cost of the city is 2.5% of the overall project, and Bartow County is picking up the other 2.5%. So our cost is approximately $9,331. I recommend approval of this, as well as getting the mayor and city clerk to sign on all the authorized documents for the grant paperwork.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Porter, who found this grant?
We worked through the county grant writers.
Grant writers. But I mean, did someone come across it and then take it to the grant writers?
We've kind of worked with the grant writers in the past. They've received grants on the hangar, on different stuff at the airport in the past, plus Bob Height and the airport authority kind of board work together, and they kind of keep abreast of any FAA grants that are out there as well.
Because this is important, and this is not a lot of money for us to contribute
Correct.
to make this happen.
Any other discussion?
Sounds like a motion, doesn't it?
It is a motion.
We'll go ahead and make that a motion.
It's a motion. I make a motion that we reconstruct the South Hangar taxiway pavement through a grant, and the city's share is $9,331.
And the authorization of,
The mayor has the authorization to sign all documents.
okay.
Second to that.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Jim, you're up.
And council. About 5 weeks ago, we had a 36-inch water main hit by a backhoe, and it created some turmoil. We did have a repair ban on site, but it was not adequate to stop the leak, so we had to get one forged in Alabama, and it took about a week to get that. But we had a problem in that we didn't have a backhoe large enough to dig out the hole to fix this line, so we had to contract with TJ Lyle on an emergency basis to bring his big track hoe in to make it so we could get access to it. And the price of that is $5,200, and I recommend approval.
Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
You want a
Or
motion?
Motions are overrated. I figure we just get right to it. Why did I ask for a motion? And I will ask for a motion.
I make a motion
Thank you.
to emergency repair, and thank you, Jim, for getting right on it.
Second.
Now's when I ask for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. They come in threes, so there's two tonight, so there's at least one more coming. Chief, video system for our police vehicles.
Council.
And Carrie, thank you for voting yes, despite the fact that they were. We know who's got my back. Go ahead, Chief.
In September, you approved the purchase of 4 new patrol vehicles with the associated equipment. At that time, we were purchasing the in-car video systems through a vendor called ICOP. That company has gone out of business. They're insolvent. They're in process of being sold. And I talked to the company today, and there's not a very bright outlook for that product to continue, or service for that product to continue. Actually, the black market on parts has already started for that particular type of video. So we feel like it's prudent to change the video system to a company that's long established and been in the business for a while, which is Digital Ally. The issue is that it will cost us about $8,500, up to $8,500 more than what we had anticipated to change over to a system from buying the current systems. This does include the software, the initial setup, and then as time goes on with each unit, as the older units go out, we'll replace them with the newer style units. So we're requesting that we be authorized to use up to $8,500 additional dollars from asset forfeiture, so the taxpayer doesn't pay the bill, to purchase these video systems, and I do ask for your approval on that.
Okay. Questions for Chief?
I have a question. You know, we see this on TV about the video system and how they catch people and defend themselves. Have we had a little bit of success with this type of a system?
We've had quite a bit of success with that. It helps protect the officer, it validates what the officer is doing, both right and wrong, and it's helped on both sides, yes.
Yeah. Cuts down on the lives. Okay.
Yes, pretty entertaining to watch.
Like to make a motion for approval?
Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chief. I don't remember asking if I wanted any motions. All right, where are we going next here? Time for the monthly financial statement. Come on up, Tom.
Honorable Mayor and Council, excuse me, tonight we'll be looking at the December 2010 financial information, comparing it to this time last, or December 2009. In the general fund, revenues have decreased over December last year by $177,000, while expenses have increased by $390,000. This is due mainly to the operating expenses. Three areas of revenue that I look at on a monthly basis are the local option sales tax. Excuse me. Those have increased by a little over $20,000, nearly $21,000. Police fines and forfeitures have increased nearly $33,000. And building permits and inspections have decreased by about $18,000. The water and sewer fund revenues have decreased over last year by $209,000. This is due largely by the capacity fees not being charged that were being charged last year. Expenses have also decreased by $33,000, and this is attributable to the lower debt service costs and combined with the higher operating expenses. Gas fund revenues have increased from last year by $776,000. This is due to a larger volume of gas being consumed. Expenses have also increased by $950,000. Again, the gas company this time of year is buying gas, putting it in stores, and hopefully we'll be able to sell it. Excuse me. In the electric fund, revenues have decreased from last year by $379,000, while expenses have increased by $1.07 million. This is due mostly to the increase of the cost of purchasing electricity. Stormwater fund revenues have decreased from December last year by $12,000. Expenses have increased by $294,000. This is due largely to the capital expenses and ongoing operating expenses. Solid waste fund revenues have increased over last year by $19,000, while expenses have decreased by $136,000. And this is due mainly to the timing of the purchase of a solid waste truck. If you remember, this time last year, we'd already made the purchase. We've not made the purchase this year for the truck. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues have increased by $175,000, again due to the increase or the payment that we received from the Kentucky Data Link in September for that fiber optic network. And expenses have decreased by $39,000 due mainly to lower statewide telecom payments and lower capital expenses. And that is my report.
Okay. Questions for Tom? You look like you had a question.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I had a question.
Go right ahead.
The electrical.
Yes.
Last year, we were running at a profit of about 2.3, and this year we're at 800. It looks like it's mainly expenses. What is the?
We have had a larger increase in the overall cost of the purchase electricity, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but I have looked at that, and it's simply the increase in the cost of electricity for the person.
So in other words, when they start selling it off, that'll go back up.
Hopefully, when things get turned around and it
Right.
the weather kind of heats up or cools or heats up a little more, heats up. That they should be selling a little more electricity and recouping some of that money.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Any other items to come before us this evening?
Mayor, Council, thank you very much for graciously allowing us a few minutes. We wanted to just take a brief moment of your time to discuss the upcoming Habitat for Humanity project, where the city is partnering with Habitat for Humanity through a community development block grant supplemental program. We've discussed it a lot recently, but things are starting to roll now, and we just had groundbreaking this morning on our very first house. We're very excited about it, and we think this is a great opportunity for the community to come together and work on a project together. So tonight I've brought along with me Don Leota. He is the president and owner of Outside the Box Construction, who is the general contractor for Habitat on this project. He'll be coordinating all the construction for all the projects and coordinating all the volunteer work and things of that nature. He's also a member of the board of Habitat for Humanity. So I've invited Don to just kind of give you a quick glimpse of a mock draw-up of the house, describe a little bit about the features of the house, which we're proud of, and maybe give you and some of the members of the community out there who are listening some information on how they can maybe get involved in the project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Don.
I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you guys. The home, as you can see, it's a basic home. It's going to be hardy plank on the outside. This first one that we're doing is going to be a 3-bedroom. It's going to have 2 porches with a back door that goes out onto its own private porch. We're using sustainable materials as much as possible. We're using architectural shingles on the we're using hardy plank architectural shingles. We're using 2x6 exterior walls with R19 insulation. What that's going to do is it's going to allow them to afford the home because it's going to cut down on their utility usage. That's the concept that we're bringing forth all the way through. We're using high efficiency heat pumps with for the HVAC occupancy sensors in the bathrooms. All these little things add up. They cost a little bit more upfront, but in the long run, it's going to make it an affordable house for the individuals. It's going to be low maintenance as well, and we selected a good family for this. That's one of the processes that we go through when we look for the families that they're credit worthy and they're truly in need, but can't afford the long-term maintenance of the property. Right now, our donation needs are construction volunteers, meals for building, painters, landscapers, surveying services, and financial donations. Even though there's a large amount of money that came through, this did not go directly to Habitat for Humanity. So we're having to pull a substantial amount of money out of our own budget to support the logistics of this project. So in turn, anything the community can do to come together and help us as an organization, we would appreciate it.
And for anyone out there that's listening or watching, we just would like to give you the contact information for the Bartow Area Habitat for Humanity. If you have any interest in helping out, we'd love to have you. The main contact over there, her name is Robin Hooker, and she can be reached at area code 770-382-6293, extension 20. And again, we'd welcome any support from the community that folks out there feel like they can give. And thanks again, Mayor and Council, for your time. We really appreciate your support.
Thank you. Don, thanks for stepping forward, and Tom, thanks for your hard work on this. I know you put a lot of time into it. So.
Thank you.
Anything else that needs to come before council, like maybe a moonlight hike or something tomorrow night?
It's that time, the moon's out. We'll be meeting tomorrow night, meeting at 6:30, departing at 6:45 for our February moonlight hike. Okay. And also, Saturday, we have our 4th annual Daddy-Daughter Dance, and we've got about 30 tickets remaining. Somebody wants to go to the dance. Jay, you take your daughter?
No, she's not old enough.
Anyway,
my daughter's too old now. She was thinking about maybe getting a fake ID, so she would say she's 12.
Yeah, we have about 30 tickets left.
Thank you, Greg. Anything else before council this evening? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
To adjourn.
You're a man. You're adjourned. And get a harumph out of you, though. All right, who needs something signed? I did.